In May 2025, Canada proposed a toll. This one hit a nerve. It targeted the Alaska Highway, the vital artery connecting the US to Alaska. For decades, a symbol of cooperation. Now, a point of contention. The sum wasn't astronomical, but the principle was a fee to reach American soil. It was about access, sovereignty, and US-Canada relations. United States-Canada trade relations. Mostly friendly, but not without their bumps. Think softwood lumber, a saga spanning decades. Quotas, tariffs, lawsuits. Each side convinced of the other's unfair practices. Then there was dairy, supply management in Canada. A perennial thorn for United States farmers. These weren't bar fights, more like simmering family feuds. This new toll felt different, yet familiar. Steel and aluminum tariffs, imposed by the United States. Canada retaliated, tit for tat. These disputes rarely threatened the fundamental flow. The Alaska Highway toll struck at something more elemental, the physical link, the rite of passage. It wasn't just about the price of a 2x4 or a gallon of milk. It was about the road itself, the very concrete and gravel that bound a nation. This history of squabbles provided context. It showed that the special relationship wasn't immune to economic nationalism or political posturing. The proposed toll might have seemed like a logical extension, a way to recoup costs, a way to assert a little bit of leverage. After all, the road ran through their backyard. For Alaskans, the news hit hard. This wasn't an abstract economic policy. This was personal. This was their connection to the rest of their country. The Alaska Highway is essential. Groceries arrive on trucks that use that road. Building supplies, medical equipment, everything that makes modern life possible in the far north. A toll meant higher prices. For everyone, for everything. In a state already grappling with a high cost of living. Imagine a trucker, driving thousands of miles. Now add a new fee. That cost gets passed on. To the store owner, to the consumer, to the family buying milk and bread. The economic impact was immediate and obvious. Businesses started calculating, how much more for freight? How would this affect already tight margins? Tourism, a vital industry, also faced uncertainty. Would visitors be deterred by an extra cost, an extra hassle? Beyond the dollars and cents, there was the social fabric. Families split between Alaska and the lower 48. Driving was often the most feasible way to visit. The toll felt like a tax on family ties, a barrier to connection. The practicalities were daunting. How would it be collected? Would there be exemptions? From Ottawa, the view was different. The Canadian government had its reasons. The Alaska Highway, particularly the Canadian stretch, is a marvel of engineering. But it's also a beast to maintain. Harsh winters, remote terrain. The costs are significant. For years, Canadian taxpayers had footed the bill. A bill that, in their view, disproportionately benefited US traffic. The toll was framed as a user pay system, a matter of fairness. There were whispers of other factors. Underlying grievances. The US is Canada's largest trading partner. But the relationship, while massive, wasn't always smooth. Perceived American protectionism in other sectors. Buy American policies. These things create friction. The toll could be seen as a piece of leverage, a way for Canada to signal that its cooperation couldn't be taken for granted. Environmental concerns also played a part. Increased traffic, especially heavy trucking, has an ecological footprint. Maintaining the highway to modern standards while minimizing environmental impact costs money. Canada argued that users, including the significant through traffic from the US, should contribute to these efforts. It was about responsible stewardship of a sensitive northern environment. Washington, D.C. did not take the news quietly. The reaction was swift and sharp. Senators from northwestern states, particularly Alaska, were vocal. They called it an outrage, an affront, an unacceptable impediment to American citizens and commerce. The White House issued a statement, expressing deep concern, urging Canada to reconsider. The diplomatic language was polite, but the underlying message was firm. This toll was not going to fly without a fight. The political gears began to grind. Retaliation was on the table, almost immediately. If Canada was going to charge Americans to use a vital transit route, perhaps the US could find ways to return the favor. Whispers of reciprocal tolls on Canadian truckers, or a fresh look at other cross-border agreements. The US Trade Representative's office began reviewing options. The goal was to apply pressure, to make Canada understand that this decision would have consequences, that it could unravel other, more beneficial aspects of the bilateral relationship. Legal experts dusted off old treaties. Was there a precedent? A clause in some forgotten agreement that guaranteed unhindered passage? The US was not going to simply pay up and shut up. The political pressure on the president was immense. The message to Ottawa was clear. This road is a two-way street, politically speaking. In Alaska, frustration was palpable. "It's highway robbery," said one Fairbanks trucker. He'd driven the Alcan for 20 years. Now, it felt like Canada was holding it hostage. Small business owners worried about survival. If shipping costs spiked, how could they compete? How could they keep their doors open? Families reconsidered summer road trips. The cost left a bitter taste. In Canada, opinions were divided. Many supported their government. "It's our road, they should pay to use it." They pointed to their own needs. Why should Canadian taxpayers subsidize American access? Others in the Yukon were more apprehensive. They valued their Alaskan neighbors. They worried about the economic fallout. Tourism operators feared American boycotts. Businesses on both sides felt the chill. Canadian exporters worried about retaliatory measures. American companies watched nervously. The interconnected economies meant wider disruption. Both chambers urged caution and a swift resolution. Trade wars had no real winners. The media amplified these voices. So, what now? The standoff over the Alaska highway toll could not last. Both nations had too much to lose. The path forward, as always, lay in diplomacy. Behind closed doors, away from the public posturing, negotiators would need to find common ground, perhaps a compromise. Maybe the US could agree to contribute directly to a dedicated highway maintenance fund, a specific, transparent mechanism. Not a toll per se, but an investment in shared infrastructure. This could allow Canada to save face and meet its financial goals. Another option: phasing. If a fee was unavoidable, perhaps it could be introduced gradually, with exemptions for local residents or for essential goods, or perhaps a cap on the total revenue Canada could collect. The goal would be to lessen the immediate shock, to make the change more palatable. Third-party mediation was also a possibility. A neutral arbiter to help both sides see past their immediate grievances, to find a solution that respected Canadian sovereignty and American needs. The broader implications were significant. This dispute, though focused on a single highway, was a stress test for US-Canada relations, the world's largest trading partnership, the longest undefended border. These things are precious. They require constant tending. The hope was that cooler heads would prevail.